What's up, guys? I'm DK Wrestler, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the worst Funko Pops from every Pixar movie. So, let's get right to it.
Like,
comment,
and subscribe for more content. Notification bell?
oh,
So like I said in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the worst Funko Pops from every Pixar movie. If you've already seen this kind of series you've already done, you know exactly what's going on. But for those that don't know what's going on, we are going to go through every single movie in essentially the whole Pixar franchise in this case, and start off with 1995's Toy Story and work our way one by one until the newest Pixar movie that has Funko Pops as of the recording of this video, which will be 2022's Lightyear. And then I'm going to determine the worst Funko Pop from each of these movies. So starting off with 1995's Toy Story, I have to go with the SDCC exclusive metallic alien. Back in the day, the alien Pops did not look that good, and I'm glad that we ended up getting one when it came to the Toy Story 4 lineup because it desperately needed to be remade. I chose the metallic one over the regular one because there was no need for making this metallic, to be honest. Next up is 1998's A Bug's Life, and the pop I chose is Princess Ada. Now there's only 3 pops for this lineup, being the Heimlich, the Flick, and Princess Ada, and I already chose the Heimlich, little spoiler alert, for the best Funko Pops, and then that leaves to Flick and Princess Ada, and I felt there was a little bit more detail as terms to the Flick, thus making the Princess Ada my least favorite pop as terms to A Bug's Life. Next is 1999's Toy Story 2, and the Funko Pop I chose is the black and white Woody. I mean, we already had the regular one for the set, which is specifically the 20th anniversary wave of Toy Story Pops, and obviously this makes sense because of the Woody's Roundup movie, or series I should say, but there's nothing really going on besides a color change. There's no different posing. For 2001's Monsters Inc., the pop I chose is the OG Mike Wazowski. Now this was difficult because it obviously was going to be either the Sully or it was going to be the Mike, and I thought the Mike, you know, there isn't as much detail as the Sully, and I think it could have went either way, whether it could have been the regular one or the glow-in-the-dark one in this case, but I felt that because green is a great color when it comes to glow-in-the-dark, that's an added detail that would have made that version better than this regular one. For 2003's Finding Nemo, the pop I chosen is Dory. Now there are only 4 Funko Pops in this set, being Crush, Bruce, Nemo, and Dory. And I mean, the superior pops pretty much are Crush and Bruce, so that leaves to Nemo and Dory just has this weird, awkward looking body mold. I mean, it makes sense because of the type of fish that Dory is, but there's just something about it where obviously the detail of a clownfish looks much better, therefore this pop had to be the worst for this movie. For 2004's The Incredibles, the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Mr. Incredible. Now this is very coincidental because I believe for the best Funko Pops from every Pixar movie, I had chosen the blue suit Mr. Incredible as the best pop for the set. And for specifically Incredibles 1, there isn't that many pops because the majority of pops for the set come from the second movie, which we will get into later on in this video. For 2006 Cars, the pop I had chosen is Doc Hudson. Now this was a little bit of a difficult one because the Cars lineup is pretty decent. You got a couple of cool Maters, you got a couple of Lightning McQueens, and especially the 2 Ramon pops that are part of this set are also pretty cool, so that leaves to the other pop for the specific movie, that being Doc Hudson, while the rest of the pops, once again, are for Cars 3, which we will talk about later on in this movie. This pop is not bad by any means. It's the fact that there's no detail involved compared to the pops that I had talked about, especially when cars like Lightning McQueen and Ramon have different like logos and pinstripes involved, and there's absolutely nothing on Doc Hudson. Next is 2007's Ratatouille, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Diamond Collection Remy. I felt this was a bit of a pointless pop. I mean, the flocked version made sense for the chase because rats are flocked. There's no rats realistically that are glittered, so it just didn't make sense. Next is 2008's WALL-E, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the glow-in-the-dark Eve. Now I felt like this one is a bit pointless because we have the regular version that's a part of this newer wave of WALL-E pops. I didn't think we necessarily really needed a glow-in-the-dark specification version. Next is 2000 2009's Up, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Carl and Ellie Wedding 2-pack. Now, there were a lot of Carl and Ellie pops when it came to this Up lineup, whether it is the young versions in the 2-pack, that was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. You had the Moments, that was a New York Comic-Con exclusive a few years back, and you even had like the one with the balloon cart that was a box lunch exclusive. But then when it came to this one is a little bit more of the simplistic version, where it's just a 2-pack and it's just 2 pops. There's nothing along with it to make it a huge moment. Up next is 2010's Toy Story 3, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the OG Lotso. Now, for this movie, there are only 4 Funko Pops. There is, of course, the OG Lotso that I'm talking about, but then you get to that 480-piece flocked Lotso that's just so high in price in the secondary market, and then you have Chuckles and Mr. Prickle Pants that were San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. So when you take this pop and match it with a flocked version, which is much better, and then much more detailed Toy Story 3 pops, this had to be the worst pop for this movie. Next up is 2011's Cars 2, and there are no Funko Pops for this, which, I mean, I don't blame them because, like I've mentioned before, even in the best Funko Pops, Cars 2 was garbage, so I'm glad there was no Funko Pops made for that movie. Next up is 2012's Brave, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Metallic Merida. Now, this pop is a little meh. I mean, this is the OG version of Merida, and it just doesn't look all that good. But making it metallic, cool, the outfit's a little shiny, but just the color that's involved with that dress just does not look good with the metallic specification compared to that original version. Next up is 2013's Monsters University, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Metallic Sully exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con. Now, it was going to be either this metallic version of Sully or the metallic Mike Wazowski that's involved with this lineup, but the thing with Mike Wazowski that got away with it is that there's a different hand positioning where he is actually waving in the metallic version, and then the common one he is not. So at least there was a posing change with that one, unlike this Sully pop where it's just the exact same posing and the exact same mold, except it's just a metallic finish that didn't need to be done. If this pop was flocked, it would have been a different story. Then that metallic Mike Wazowski would have taken the spot on this list. Next up is 2015's Inside Out, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the translucent Bing Bong. Now, this isn't entirely a bad pop per se. I mean, it's just a different version of Bing Bong that was already made as a common. This one makes sense for a couple of reasons. You can say it for the reason of it being like when Bing Bong ends up disappearing, but realistically, I do think this makes sense also because of the fact that Bing Bong is Riley's imaginary friend. So obviously, because imaginary friends obviously don't exist, translucent makes sense because it's invisible per se. So I do like the concept behind that, but when you have pops like obviously the different emotions and even some of the weird obscure ones like the rainbow unicorn, this one just kind of makes it a little bit low on this list. Next is 2015's The Good Dinosaur, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is Arlo. Now, for this movie, there were only 2 Funko Pops for this lineup. There was Spot and there was Arlo, and obviously for the best Pixar pops, I had chosen the Spot, so thus automatically making the Arlo the worst pop of the 2. Next up is 2016's Finding Dory, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is Dory. Now, I have no hate towards the character Dory, in case you were thinking, oh, why'd you put Dory twice on this list? It is the fact that it's the exact same pop from the original Finding Nemo wave, except that they slapped a Finding Dory pop to it. Next up is 2017's Cars 3, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Silver Lightning McQueen. Now, once again, it all comes down to the detail of what's on the car. There's not that many, like, logos on the car, obviously, because this is after Lightning McQueen gets into that accident in the movie, so it is kind of like the new fresh coat of paint that he's about to get. So it makes sense. It's not the scene's fault, it's just that realistically I would rather choose a car that has a bunch of detail for logos and stuff rather than just one singular color and nothing on it. Next up is 2017's Coco, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Diamond Collection Miguel. This pop I felt like didn't need to be made. The glow-in-the-dark version that was a Toys R Us exclusive, I kind of get the concept because, you know, the Land of the Dead is very bright, but I just felt like having the glitter effect on this pop was just another way for Funko to sell the main character as a pop and just slap a specification on it. Next up is 2018's The Incredibles 2, and the pop I had chosen is the Stretching Elastigirl. Now, this one is alright, but I mean, if you were to get an Elastigirl Funko Pop, I would rather just say get the Pop Rise, where you see the Elasticycle actually stretching out and you see her stretching along with it. I think that's a little bit better, but I do understand why they made it in case they didn't want to pay the money for the rides and just a singular one. Next up is 2019's Toy Story 4, and the pop I had chosen is the Common Forky. Now this was a bit of a difficult list because I can't say that there isn't entirely a bad pop because I enjoyed the Toy Story franchise. But I had to choose Forky because you're not getting so much of a figure compared to everything else. Because Forky is a spork, you get less of a vinyl feel. He's super tiny and super light as terms to a normal sized Funko Pop, so you're kind of not getting your money's worth when you're buying this pop for retail. Next up is 2020's Onward, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Unicorn. This could have went either way with either the normal one or the Diamond Collection Chase. Why was this even made? Like, the unicorns are basically like squirrels in the world where they kind of just run around the street, and especially with the minimal time involved in this movie, I just think it didn't have to be made, and they could have made a different character to fill that spot in the Onward lineup. Next up is 2020 Soul, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Soul World Mr. Mittens. This is one of those cases, just like the unicorn I just discussed about, where this only happens in literally like a 5-second scene and you don't see it throughout the movies. Next up is 2021's Luca, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the land version of Luca. Now this lineup is pretty sweet, and I feel like pretty much all the Funko Pops are super accurate to the animation style that is in this movie, so there aren't entirely any bad pops. The only reason that Luca is the worst is because he's not posed all that well. Next up is 2022's Turning Red, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the Maylin Lee. Now this set only had 3 pops. You had Maylin Lee, and then you had the Red Panda, both regular and flocked versions for this set. And for the best Funko Pops video for Pixar, I believe I chose the flocked Panda, and because I like that one very much, I couldn't put the regular one as the worst, so I had to put the human version of Maylin Lee as the worst pop for this set. And last but not least is 2022's Lightyear, and the Funko Pop I had chosen is the glow-in-the-dark XL01 Buzz Lightyear. Now I felt like, once again, this is just a specification version of an already existing common pop, and that they could have done some other different outfit for a character rather than this, or a brand new character in the movie. Anyways guys, that is the end of today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, but I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.